August 480 BCE, Thermopylae, Greece. Picture this. You're standing at the gates of the world. On one side, a cliff wall. On the other, the sea. And through that strip of rock and dust, the largest invasion force the ancient world had ever assembled is marching toward you. Hundreds of thousands of Persian soldiers, chariots, cavalry, the elite immortals. An empire stretching from Egypt to the edge of India, come to erase Greece from the map. Leading them, Xerxes I, a king who has already swallowed nations whole, who bridged an entire sea just to reach you. To Xerxes, this wasn't a battle. It was an announcement. Facing him, Leonidas I, king of Sparta, leading 7,000 Greeks, including 300 elite Spartans. By every rule of ancient warfare, this should be over before it begins. Now watch what happens. For 7 days, the greatest army on earth was stopped cold by a few hundred men. And when Persia finally broke through, it wasn't because the Greeks were beaten. The blow came from somewhere Leonidas never expected. How did they hold so long? And what finally ended it? By the end of this video, you'll know. To understand Thermopylae, you need to understand the machine that was coming. Xerxes' father, Darius, had already tried to crush Greece. In 490 BCE, his army landed at Marathon. An outnumbered Athenian force sprinted straight at the Persian lines and broke them. Greece survived. Darius never recovered from the humiliation and spent the rest of his life rebuilding for a second attempt. He died before finishing it. His son Xerxes inherited the army, the ambition, and the grudge, and refused to do it small. He ordered pontoon bridges built across the Hellespont, nearly a mile of warships lashed together and planked over, so an army could walk from Asia to Europe. When a storm destroyed the first bridges, Xerxes ordered the sea whipped 300 times for defying him. New bridges rose, a canal was dug through a peninsula, supply depots stretched across Thrace. This wasn't logistics, it was an empire rearranging geography. Modern scholars estimate his army between 120,000 and 300,000 soldiers. City after city watched that horizon and sent Xerxes earth and water, symbols of submission. Most of Greece folded. 2 cities didn't, Athens and Sparta. Both had already thrown Persian envoys into pits when Darius first sent them. That alone was a declaration of war. Leonidas didn't march with only 300 men because Sparta lacked more. He marched with 300 because Sparta was mid-festival, the Carnea, sacred to Apollo, and Spartan law forbade campaigns during it. The ephors granted him a forward force only, hold the pass, buy time. There was also the oracle at Delphi. Its verdict, either Sparta falls or a king of Sparta must die. Leonidas understood exactly what that meant. He chose men who already had sons, families that would continue without them. He wasn't assembling a fighting force. He was assembling a sacrifice. Allied contingents joined him on the march, Thespians, Thebans, Phocians, Corinthians, until the force reached 7,000. They marched into the pass and waited. Thermopylae means hot gates, named for its sulfur springs. In 480 BCE, that corridor between cliff and gulf was barely 100 meters wide at its broadest point. At the middle gate, where Leonidas planted his line, it narrowed to almost nothing. Cavalry, useless. Archers, worthless at 10 feet. Persia's greatest weapons were neutralized the moment they entered. The Greeks rebuilt an old defensive wall the day before battle. Leonidas also knew about the Thermopylae trail, a mountain path bypassing his position entirely. He posted 1,000 Phocians to guard it. He thought that was enough. And Xerxes waited 4 days, sending a scout who reported the Spartans combing their hair and exercising, showing no urgency. Xerxes summoned Demaratus, an exiled Spartan king, in his court, and asked what it meant. "These men are preparing to fight and to die," Demaratus said. "When Spartans dress their hair, it means they are about to risk their lives." Xerxes laughed and sent an envoy with terms: "Lay down your arms, live." Leonidas sent 2 words back: "Molon lab, come and take them." On the 5th day, Xerxes attacked. 10,000 Medes and Scythians first, ordered to bring the defenders back alive. The Greek phalanx met them at the narrowest point, a wall of bronze, shields overlapping edge to edge, 8-foot spears in staggered rows. Persian soldiers pushed, the line held, front ranks rotated with fresh men as tired ones fell back. A machine built for exactly this terrain. Xerxes reportedly stood from his throne, 3 times watching, not in celebration, in horror. The Medes fell back. He sent the Immortals, 10,000 elite professionals, a force that never shrank because a fallen man was instantly replaced. They expected to end this in minutes. The phalanx rotated, the spears held. The Immortals fell back too. For 2 full days, the greatest army on earth broke itself against a few hundred meters of Greek bronze. Then on the 2nd night, a man walked into the Persian camp. Ephialtes of Trachis, a local Greek who knew the mountains the way you know your own street. He offered Xerxes what no Persian scout had found: the Thermopylae trail, curving above the pass, coming out directly behind Leonidas. His motive was simple greed. For that, his name became, in Greek, the word for nightmare. It still means that today. The Immortals moved through the mountains in darkness. At dawn, the Phocians guarding the heights heard the rustle of crushed leaves underfoot. Arrows flew, not to destroy, but to push through. The Phocians pulled back to higher ground. The Persians walked past them without stopping. The path was open. Leonidas got the news before sunrise. He called a council. Most allied contingents withdrew. Over 4,000 men saved to fight again at Plataea. The 300 Spartans stayed. 700 Thespians refused to leave. Their city lay directly in Xerxes' path. Some Thebans remained too. The sources disagree on why. Around 2,000 soldiers total, knowing exactly what the morning would bring. At dawn, Xerxes made his offering and waited for the Immortals to close the trap from behind. Then he ordered the full advance. Leonidas made his final decision, not to hold behind the wall, but to move forward into the open pass. Attacking. If they were going to die, they'd die killing as many Persians as possible. The Greeks pushed so hard that Herodotus records 2 of Xerxes' own brothers falling in the fighting. Leonidas died in that assault, shot down deep in the enemy line. What followed was one of the most ferocious struggles in ancient history. The Greeks drove back into the Persian line 4 times to reclaim his body. When spears shattered, they drew swords. When swords were gone, they used their hands. The Immortals arrived from the rear. The Thebans surrendered, hands raised, many cut down before it was accepted. The survivors were branded with Xerxes' royal mark. The remaining Spartans and Thespians fell back to a small hill. Xerxes gave the final order. Persian archers covered the hill until nothing moved. Here's where you have to be honest. Thermopylae was not a Greek victory. The pass fell. Xerxes marched south. Athens was evacuated and burned. The Acropolis looted. By every measure of territory and objectives, this was a defeat. And yet, something happened in that pass that changed the war. Not the time bought, since Xerxes spent weeks afterward methodically reducing Greek resistance anyway. What changed was the story. Thermopylae proved Persia bleeds. The Immortals, unkillable on paper, had been turned back by men who already knew they were dead. Greek soldiers across the alliance had watched 300 men hold for days against everything Xerxes had and stay even when they could have left. Thermopylae didn't save Greece, but it gave a civilization the story it needed to believe it could win. Leonidas knew he was going to die. He went anyway. He picked men with living sons. He held the pass until there was no pass left to hold. Then he ran at the empire with everything he had. 2,500 years later, you're still watching. That story spread like fire. 6 weeks later, at Salamis, the Greek fleet lured the Persian navy into narrow straits, a plan so audacious even Themistocles' own allies thought he'd lost his mind. Xerxes was so confident he built a throne on a hillside to watch his fleet destroy the Greeks in comfort. He never considered that throne would give him a front-row seat to something else entirely. The fate of the Greek world, decided in a single afternoon. Watch it now.